Hey guys, Eddie Blanco here with Stratwell. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be having a special guest, Sep Niakan, the owner of HB Roswell Real Estate and Condo Black Book. Condo Black Book's a specialized market study on condos. Really cool information that Sep's going to be able to reveal to us today with some tough questions about what's happening in the Miami condo market. Look forward to seeing you on that video. Also, take a moment here to subscribe to this video, like and comment so we know what you like, and the algorithm of YouTube will know that you like our pages and then continue to send you videos of what we got going on. Thank you very much. Also, take a moment to subscribe to us through all the social media links through Facebook and Instagram. All right, all the best. Take care. See you soon. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, I'm here with my buddy Sep Niakan. He's a broker of HB Roswell Realty and the owner of Condo Black Book, and of course my partner Isael with Stratwell, and we're here to talk about the condo market in Miami, what's happening. So, want to open it up? What's up, Sep? How you doing today?
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I'm honored.
All right.
In the presence of the Stratwell.
You're one of our guests, one of our first guests on here. That we're actually like we've started to bring someone in. It's always been just me and Eddie boring ourselves to death here, talking all the real estate nonsense.
No, you guys are doing a great job.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to have you on, man. And tell us a little bit more. I know you focus on the condo market.
Yeah.
And that's your big wheelhouse. I know you're in the luxury, you're in the higher end stuff, bro. You're in the chi-chi frou-frou stuff, compared to what we sell. Tell me more about that, man.
Well, yeah. So we're in a Edgewater neighborhood is where our office is, and so we do a lot of the greater downtown area and the Miami beaches mostly, and then some of the surrounding suburbs as well. Just because a lot of condo owners and buyers eventually move out into those sort of like neighboring suburbs. Yeah. But yeah, we do a lot of analysis and sort of a lot of deals in the condo market, both buys and rents, and so hopefully I can help you guys with some insights. Help you guys out there with some insights.
For sure. And let's plug in.
Condo market.
Yeah, you have a blog also, right? Let's plug that in. Tell us a little bit more about that and where we can find that at.
Right. So we have a website called condoblackbook.com where it's very specific to those sort of central neighborhoods.
Gotcha.
And within it, there's a blog where we get into everything that's related to condos specifically. I mean, a lot of stuff obviously is real estate, but condos have little nuances, and so we try to focus on what condo buyers, owners, residents, etc., sellers are interested in specifically. I mean, so all I do personally. I mean, my agents vary a little bit, but all I do personally all day is think about condos.
Gotcha.
That's why we wanted.
That's why you're here.
I think about condos and my wife.
That was a safe one.
Which one?
You knew you had to throw that in.
Yeah. Right. She might watch this later.
Yeah, she's gonna definitely watch it.
Yeah, sometimes, but mostly condos.
Yes.
So what's up with the condo market? Are people buying condos or what?
Yeah, I mean, when COVID happened, everyone thought the world was gonna, collapse, and the first thing everyone thought about with Miami is, the condo markets, what's going to happen to it? Where's it going to go? Yeah. Which is a reasonable thought, because even before COVID, the downtown Miami beaches, et cetera, condo markets were moving, but it was heavy in inventory. Right. There's the developers did their thing and kept building and building.
Yeah, they were committed.
And a lot of buyers, but need some more buyers.
Gotcha.
Than we had. So what happened was, okay, well, if there's high inventory then, and COVID happens, and demand goes to nothing, now what?
Right.
2008 all over again. Right.
Dun dun dun.
That's what a lot of people who
right. Everybody's speculating, and everyone's like, "Oh man, it's the cursor of 2005 again, right?" It's like it's starting again.
Yeah. But surprisingly, during COVID, people were at home, bored, thinking, "What am I going to do next in my life?"
Right.
Interest rates are super low. They're, I think, historically the lowest they've ever been.
For sure.
And people are like, "Hey, I need to move, COVID or no COVID. My job's okay." Surprisingly, they're talking about these big job losses and everything, but I mean, you see it, you feel it.
Yeah.
I got some friends, people, but there's a lot of people who are very stable, and it's also, when these kind of events happen, it's like a wealth transfer, right? So you have people who are who maybe lose some wealth, and then you have other people who get super solid,
extremely
wealthy.
Yeah.
They pivot quickly. All of a sudden, a company. I had a guy out of Texas that called me. He's like, my company does storage, oil and gas industry, like warehousing.
Yeah.
And he said he just pivoted to like medical supply warehousing, and he's just boom. He's
Killing
like,
it.
man, I'm gonna buy myself a $1 million condo in Miami. I was gonna wait a few years, but I think I need a couple months, and I'm gonna do it.
Wow.
So there's wealth transfer.
Yeah.
Winners and losers. I mean,
And I think it's always been like that, right? Just at a different scale, like globally, right? Like different people held different purses, right? And I give a credit to Michael Valdez, right, of who used to run or CFO or luxury global president of. He used to say that in his things too. He used to talk about that the wealth just pivots, right, and just transfers, and it's not about that the wealth leaves and it's no longer in the market, right? It's the fact that who's holding the purse, right, and it transfers, and I think we're seeing it more on a more local level now, right?
Absolutely,
that's crazy. And like you said, I have friends also that some of them are struggling a little bit, right, or things have just slowed down, but then I have friends also that just pivoted and are exponentially just growing at a much rapid pace.
Yeah, for sure.
That's nuts. And how's the rental market look then? I guess in terms of like, I'm guessing now that people at that point that pulled off, right, and we're just kind of like waiting. Everyone's on the sideline. How's that demand and rentals and how's that all correlate together?
Yeah, it was the same thing with rentals when both buyers and renters, when that stuff happened, they're like, oh, I'm gonna offer 50%, rents are going to go down 50%, or I'm going to offer 20% discount on the rent or on the purchase or whatever.
Brother. Yeah.
And it didn't really go well for most of them. There's sometimes people drop their pants and deals happen. But what happened was when it hit, one of the challenges with condos is all of a sudden condo buildings aren't allowing showings. Tenants who are living there aren't allowing showings. Some owners are uncomfortable allowing showings. Right. Past a few months. So what we did, we recommended to our landlords, for example, to do first month free.
Got it.
And just kind of create promotions because you probably weren't going to have vacancy anyway during that first month. So just make it something to create something
appealing.
But honestly, that lasted a month or two, and none of that's necessary anymore. Now that condos are allowing showings and everything, and tenants are finally like kind of following the suit of the local government and kind of reopening their place to showings and so on.
Right.
It's business as usual. There's some price tweaks. I suspect that there's going to be a little bit of a drop, but I mean just nothing
too crazy.
Nothing massive.
In the rental
couple percent
pricing.
In the rental pricing.
Got it.
Couple percent, maybe 5% temporarily. I don't know the numbers. I didn't run the numbers on them, but not big changes.
People still gotta live, right? And that's a very still attractive area, right? Yeah. Like the condo market. I mean, it's such a different lifestyle, right? What's the demographic, your average demographic of people living and moving towards condos? Is it a wide spectrum or is it?
It's so wide, man. It's just go into go into the mall, go in anywhere, look around, and that's your condo market.
That's it.
It's just
that's
the same thing. Yeah, same thing with single family homes. It's just obviously people with growing families, might gravitate towards single family homes, but there's plenty of condo dwellers that have families like myself.
Yeah.
I when I moved into the Edgewater neighborhood, I lived in a building called Cité, and I was swinging single, and having a lot of fun, and then I got married, and I was still having a lot of fun, of course.
Right. Just a different fun.
Yeah, a different kind of fun.
Yeah.
and then I had my first kid. I was still in the same condo.
Yeah.
Second kid was going to come around, and we just needed a bigger place, and we're like, do we go do a single family home? Do we go condo? What do we do? Everyone's like, you got to go single family, but we're like, no, we don't.
Right. That's not true.
And what happened? So for us, we're so busy and we got our hands in so many things that the last thing we wanted to do is also have projects around the house all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. And actually, I see myself in a couple of years maybe going that route.
Right.
But for us, we just wanted easy breezy. Lock up, leave.
That somebody else.
The dishwasher breaks, call Brand Smart, get it installed, wrap it up, and that's pretty much your biggest problem.
No lawn maintenance. Yeah. No making sure the lawnmower is still serviced and whatnot.
And then we, I walked 2 blocks to my office. A big chunk of my business is in the neighborhood or nearby neighborhoods, so a short Uber ride or a walk or I was big on the scooters until they took them off the streets temporarily. Hopefully they bring them back. That's how we get around. So there's all kind of people have all kinds of needs. And that's one of the things that actually I talked about with my agents this morning is that, you always try to predict like what's going to happen. Like everyone's saying, oh, you know what? Everyone's going to move to single family homes now that this happened because no one wants to live in vertical living and all that stuff. And there is a truth to that.
Of course.
Right? There are some people going to be like, man, I couldn't use my condo pool for 3 months because of COVID. Screw this! I'm gonna move to a house so I can enjoy my house. I can do whatever I want. I can have anyone over I want. Whether it's against CDC guidelines or not or whatever, right?
Weirdness.
But as much as you want to predict that's how everything's gonna happen and no one's gonna want condos anymore, it's just completely just not true.
True.
You have people calling from New York saying, "I want to get out of New York. I want to buy a condo." Right? So for them, it's not about getting out of condos. It's about getting out of New York.
Correct.
Or someone else is about living their dream. They lives in Texas, in Houston, or wherever I can't remember. I think it was in Houston. He just always wanted a second home here in Miami.
Vacation house.
Right. You can just go on and on and on. And for single family homes, condos, whatever it is, you can spend all day and you will not get to every scenario and every way people think about what their buying decisions are. It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's situational. And so that's what's really cool about it. Some of the things I always love learning how little I know. And this is just another example of learning that. Yep. That, you have this vision in your head of what's going to happen next after something like COVID. And man, so far I'm wrong on most of it.
Right.
It's interesting because what happens is people take like some anecdotal thing or story they've heard and then they look for data to support that. And if you look for data to support that, like, oh, people are moving from condos to the suburbs, you could probably find data to support that. And then you're stuck on that trend to believe that. But any of those anecdotals, you can find data to support it. Right. So, there's a lot of different stories happening, right? And overall, what do you say is happening in the condo market? Are we seeing a downward trend, an upward trend in values, days on market? Kind of what some data points on some of that?
Well, yeah, so basically it's like real estate is local, right? And then real estate is not even local, it's ultra local. Right. And it's ultra specific to the price point, the property type, and so on. So, anything under 400,000 condos, like 2-bedroom condos under 400, the demand is really high because so many people can afford it.
Of course.
1-bedroom condos under 300, super in demand. And then, as you go up in price, there's definitely a lot of soft points. I mean, inventory for, starting at like 500,000 and going up, like the months of inventory are for the overall condo market in those areas, like greater downtown, the beaches and so on, you're probably in the 26 months plus of inventory, anywhere up to even 70 months, depending on the price point.
Right.
But most of those numbers were like that before COVID.
Got it.
Right. So we've been chipping away since about 2014, 2015, the inventory levels started going up, and then it kept sort of kind of just going up for a while.
Is that related to like the developers building more and having more inventory hit the market?
Yeah, it's honestly it's the same Miami story. Market gets hot, developers jump in heavy. Unfortunately, the city planning or whatever, however, I don't know how it works in other cities because I've only done real estate in Miami, but I suspect in other cities they're a little bit more careful with like keeping the pace of development to a certain level that matches demand. Maybe doing some analysis and saying, hey, this is not a good idea or whatever. Sure. But here, they kind of a little loosey goosey sometimes, and they let the developers keep pumping them out. So super hot market, prices are going way up. And then developers are like, hey, prices are going way up. Let's build a whole ton of
Let's
condos.
keep building more.
And while it was nothing anywhere near like it was in 2008, they were a little bit heavy on it. And then as the peak hit, the U.S. dollar got super strong across against the euro, against the South American currencies. And so there were currencies that got hit 20, 25, 30, 35%.
Ouch.
Their buying power. That's a lot of buying power.
Yeah,
so that's like if prices didn't change at all, for that person from that country, they're paying a 30% premium for the same exact thing.
Got it.
Right?
Correct. And in 2008, the reverse was true. Like the dollar was super
was
low, and they were able to come here and buying power. So they saw the dollar, they saw that change happen. You know.
Right. So
They were getting 10% discounts basically.
They fueled our rebound.
Right.
So we were one of the fastest cities in the world, in the U.S. to rebound after the Great Recession.
Right.
Primarily because of the weak dollar. Right?
I also noticed that in the U.S. I think South Florida in general. I don't know where the statistics stay true, but we have the cheapest waterfront property across compared to other sides of the world, right? Where you can't touch anything.
The big cities.
For the major metropolitan around the world, like the top 10 cities, we're pretty inexpensive.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, think about New York, right? Where you get a condo, it's 600 square feet, you're paying $1 million or something. I mean, relative to that, I really don't know, but I mean, compared to us, right? You can get a pretty decent 1,000 square foot condo for anywhere $300,000 to $400,000.
Absolutely.
If you don't get too picky, right? And then up.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Crazy.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that we have? Why is Miami? Definitely within the top 10 cities, but then as it relates to pricing, what do you think are the factors that are driving our pricing? Is it just purely inventory, oversupply of inventory?
You mean what?
Like why is it that Miami's hot, Miami's sexy, Miami's in a great location? Why is it that our pricing for condos is comparatively low compared to other markets?
I think probably two main reasons. One is because we are a second home market, not primarily or only,
right,
but we are partially a second home market. So second home markets don't tend to thrive or stay as stable as primary home markets.
Right.
And part of that, sort of associated to that, is that we're also not necessarily a high earning market in terms of like people making money here.
Right.
A lot of the money comes here, is from here. Like there's a lot of banking, there's a lot of hospitality, a lot of stuff. But like a lot of the heavy hitters that buy here earned their money elsewhere.
Got it.
They had major life events. Like, even if they live here now, they might have had like major liquidity events or whatever. Now, but see, that's the real interesting about COVID, is that it's sort of changing the landscape. I can't tell you. I mean, again, this is anecdotal, but I don't think it's just one-off situations. There's people who calling us and saying, "Listen, I want to buy a condo there." I'm like, "Okay, so what's your situation? Is it second home, primary home?" Well, it's going to be a primary home. I've been wanting to get a second home in Miami for a long time. I've been waiting to sort of like have all this stuff play out for me to buy a second home. But my office just told me I don't have to work from the office anymore. So instead of having a second home in Miami, I'm just going to move there. How cool is that?
Of course.
Cool.
I'm gonna be where the sexy and where the beat is at.
Right. So that's something that I'm really curious about, how that's going to impact demand here. It definitely is. I just don't know to what extent.
Right.
Because there's a lot of companies changing all over the U.S. Right.
Of course.
California, New York, Chicago, all these big. Hey, you don't have to be in the office that often, or
that's interesting.
a week out of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I can live anywhere. And I've always wanted to live in Miami. I've been waiting. Hey, now I can make that my primary and save on taxes, right? And get a condo that has a balcony, and I don't have to climb up 80 stairs to get to my condo without, like in those old places in New York, whatever.
Right.
So, it just changes the landscape. And and you say, well, why hasn't Miami? Well, because if they can now earn here from their company that's based out of New York,
why not be here?
Now the buying power goes up. It becomes more of a primary home market, and all of a sudden, who knows? Maybe Miami's going to be a net winner after the post-COVID game compared to a lot of other cities.
That's interesting.
It could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting perspective, because I mean, I would say you're right, man. If you think about it, right, a lot of people made their wealth elsewhere, and they bring it here as wealth preservation and enjoyment, right? Mm-hmm. Because like anyone else, even like in the crisis where South America had some issues with their money, right, and their government change, everyone just flocked over here just because of the diversity, right? And it was just they didn't care if this market was tanking or whether it was going up or down or anything, but at least it was safe, right? And it was somewhat relatable, and they can understand. So it's cool.
For sure.
It's cool to see that.
It's really cool to see because also part of that, I mean, it's like the cause and effect. The cause of that is because the older folks, right, that actually own the businesses, that run the businesses, the senior management and so on. Usually they're, 50 plus, sometimes 40s, sometimes 30s if you were a pretty awesome dude or gal that started early and were a rock star. Those guys were forced to shift the way they do business. They had to have their employees work from home. Yeah. They had to start using the iPad or whatever, Zoom and all that stuff themselves, right? Whereas before, like, I'll let that dude do it for me. Right. So now it forced the entire world, no matter what age you are, what affinity you have toward technology, whatever, it forced you into it. Right. So now everyone's thinking differently, and it's just going to create all sorts of change. And that's one of the other things I was talking to my agents about this morning, was that this just forced everyone to just rethink everything, and also think about what's really important, and also just thinking about just making changes. It almost makes everyone less afraid to make changes. Yeah. Right. So a lot of decisions,
forced into it.
You're forced.
And so, but let's say the change to technology, right? But that's not just about, hey, I was forced to make a change to technology. That was like, hey, I made a huge change and my life didn't end. Right. The world didn't end. Right. My world didn't end when I made this huge change. So that means now they have the strength, the mental strength, the muscle, the mental muscle to then make any other change they've been putting off. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think this is going to be really good for the world in a lot of ways.
I used to consider myself an outsider when I used to just grab my laptop and just like go elsewhere just to work, right? And just because of the freedom, right? We're very digitally inclined, and I would say the same. You're also very heavy into tech. I know you and Eddie share that common trait there.
We're tech geeks.
We're tech guys. I know Eddie's always keeping me up to date, as you would think, and I remember just going, like, let's say, hey, I mean, today I was just like, I had a lot of work to do, or a lot of clerical work where I didn't really have to meet anybody. And if I did, it was a phone call. I'm going to work from the beach today. I'm going to sit down in the sand and, take my laptop out. I used to have my little Fire Stick that was like my wireless, like, internet at that time. And to get emails and just, check comps or whatever the case was, that was great. And I felt so like such an outsider, right? And then now, because of this whole COVID thing, right? It's like you said, a lot of people were forced into it, and then now they're like, "Wait, I actually am more productive. Hold on, I'm okay staying home, right?" And it's that trait that I guess the customaries, right? Social customaries is that we're so used to, like, you have to get up, go get dressed, go to work, that routine, and then now it's like, wait, let's get up right here and handle it right here, right? And now I could do what I did in 8 hours and maybe 2 or 3, and people are like, wait, there's a big productivity change here. Yeah. So it's interesting to see what it's going to do and play in our market, because it's like you said, we may become more it's a homestead.
It's everyone's dream. Yeah. Miami is everyone's dream. Miami is a dream market for the weather, for the people, for the beauty, both natural and
augmented.
Augmented beauty also. So I mean, just everyone wants to be here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
sexy.
Couple of things I want to ask you about, because from an outsider perspective, like, not an outsider, I'm a Miami guy, but I don't the whole condo market, downtown Miami condo market, we sell real estate there, but it's not like our backyard, right? And so one of the things I think about and have noticed is that they've built all these buildings, but then there's not really quite the infrastructure for schools and other extracurricular activities. I mean, there is some dining and bars to see. But do you see a trend in that getting better? I've seen that. I've seen some progress in that area. Is that something that you see as a opportunity for the Miami condo market?
I gotta correct that. You guys have all the restaurants and you have all the restaurants and nightlife down there.
Right, I mean, plenty of that. But I'm saying for families and the infrastructure for schooling and some of the other infrastructural needs, like Home Depots and those type of things.
So, first of all, when it comes to restaurants, I mean, I used to, I moved here 20 years ago. I lived in Doral for a year and then realized what a mistake that was. No offense, Doral people. So I moved to the beach, and then from the beach I moved to Edgewater.
You're a trendy guy, dude. You're not Doral, man. You got to be in the scene and the sexy. Yeah.
So one of the things, man, if I wanted to, 20 years ago, you could barely find a Mexican joint to go to, man. It was crazy.
No way.
There was one Indian restaurant within like 15 miles or 20 miles. Like it was.
You've been in downtown.
barren.
You've been in downtown that long, for 20 years.
Yeah.
So you've seen the development of the restaurants and whatnot.
Yeah. So I was on the beach until about 2000 and something.
Right.
And then I've been in Edgewater for about 15 years.
Okay. Wow.
So
So you know everything that's popping.
So yeah, when I moved to Edgewater, man, there were still hookers up and down Biscayne Boulevard.
Yeah.
Excuse
man.
me, sex workers.
Right.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was like that, and then they moved. Well, they were actually in the park, right? Also, Margaret Pace Park, and then they moved to. They were on Biscayne the park, and then they kind of got pushed over to Northeast Second Avenue, and then they got pushed over to North Miami Avenue, and then like now I don't know where they are. So.
Yeah, I don't know. They've done it. The city of Miami's done a great job of cleaning up
the whole
the city.
Biscayne corridors.
Yeah, everything, man.
But the restaurants, man. Now, if I want to go to Indian restaurant within a 2-mile radius, I can go to like 8 different ones. Mexican joint within a 5-mile radius, there's like
bunch.
50 of them.
Yeah.
And not just like cruddy places. I think we have some of the best restaurants in the U.S. in the world. World class for sure.
I miss that so much.
There were I don't have the names off the top of my head, but like there are restaurateurs that before it was always, hey, this New York restaurant is opening here, and that's still happening, right?
Right.
Or this restaurant that's in Paris is now opening here,
right.
Or this restaurant in Sao Paulo is opening here. Now there's restaurateurs that open here, and then people are excited because that Miami restaurant is now opening in New York or LA or Paris or whatever. So we're now like world class when it comes to that. When it comes to family stuff, which is fair because I have firsthand knowledge of that since I have a 3.5 and a almost 6-year-old. Private school baby. If you go to New York, it's the same thing. Most
Sure.
I think. Any New Yorkers, send your comments, correct me if I'm wrong. But,
drop them below.
Yeah, drop. I think that if you really want to go to a top-notch school, you end up sending your kid to private school if you're living in those condo areas. Now, there's, for example, in my neighborhood, there's a school called iPrep, which is basically elementary. I don't know if it's preschool or not, but all the way through high school, and it's super highly rated. Right?
Is that on 17th?
It's a charter school. Yeah, it's like 17.
Yeah.
It's a charter school, right? But the problem is that they give no, which is total messed up. Carvalho, fix this, man.
Sure to tag them in that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's no preference given to people who live in the neighborhood.
Got
Are
it.
you serious? Like we're paying
You're
taxes.
paying the property taxes.
Right.
It's like, come on, man, that's not cool. So
and it's a charter school.
There's people all over Dade County that go there, and people all over. Even some people from Broward are. I don't know. I don't want to start any things, but it's like it doesn't.
You just got them in trouble, bro. They're gonna get audited now for sure.
It's bizarre, man. And so I think there's a fundamental issue with of like the.
They restrict
the resources
around here. I'm surprised that they don't do it there.
Well, but I guess the charter school, it's like a lottery, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, I personally don't want my child to go there. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I like the school he's at.
Yeah.
It offers a lot of really cool things that I just don't think he can get there.
Yeah.
But if I had no choice but to go to public school, absolutely that would be the one, and I would be happy that he would be there.
Got it.
You know what I mean? It's just
if he can get in, right?
I just have a choice, but. We've applied just to see if we can get in, and maybe it's the universe just knowing that we're not intending to go, and so we don't get chosen. But he's been on the list for like 3 or 4 years, and we haven't gotten it. It's come on, man! Like
right there,
I'm paying some pretty fat property taxes.
Yeah,
Like, what's the point of it? I'm paying for those schools. Like, let me in the damn school. It's
right
next.
So one of the other things that we're talking about in terms of the impact and the values in Miami and challenges that Miami's facing in the condo sector is the mass transit, the ability to get around the city. There's been some progress there, but what do you see in terms of some of the future of that and how that might impact values?
Well, it's definitely a little bit sad that we're not much further along, but I mean, we'll look at the positive. The negative is that we started our mass transit system the same time Washington, D.C. did, roughly. And I think it was in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And if you go to D.C., man, they've got a killer metro system.
They got it down packed.
Unbelievable, right? It's huge. It goes everywhere, and it's crazy. And here we are with a little metro mover going.
that people barely ride.
Yeah, but you have to adjust and make the best of what you have. So I think they've done a good job at keeping that up and clean and running. So people do use it, maybe not as much as we would want them to do or that we would want to ourselves, but it is being used. They added the trolley a few years ago, which again is like it's like bus, but that everyone would ride it, right? There's some sort of weird stigma about buses, like you just don't want to be on them. It just kind of feels dirty. I don't know. But the trolley. It's
a trolley.
It's
still a bus.
It's a little bit prettier. It's a little cuter. Was it Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, it's Mr. Rogers.
Have a little bell.
Little neighborhood,
No, it doesn't. It's like a bus with like a wrap, a trolley, with the trolley wrap on it.
Yeah. So it just feels better, right? So then it's much more welcoming, especially for tourists.
For sure.
To hop on and hop off. And then locals, it's there. I think a lot of people, especially in Miami Beach, use it to get around. More so than in terms of like residents, right?
Right.
Tend to use
parking
it, I think, more
too, right?
Miami Beach. In a downtown area, I mean, I don't know anyone who uses it regularly personally, but maybe they do and they just don't tell me. They're ashamed or something. I'm kidding. I've been on it with my son, like in Coconut Grove, and it's pleasant. It's a real pleasant experience. So I think a lot of people gravitate towards the trolleys, and then, frankly, Uber is amazing. We got rid of our family second car 3 years ago.
Wow.
One of the benefits of living in an urban area is that you don't need to drive so much, and when you do, everything's close. And then now that you have the convenience of the Uber and the Lyft or whatever, I can get almost anywhere with $5 or $6, usually no more than $10. And so, especially if you go out at night and you want to drink something or whatever, it's a no-brainer. You don't even think about your car. So we only have one car. We almost never run into issues with that. Like my wife needed the car today, and I took an Uber here. It cost me like, I don't know, $25 to get here. So it's going to be $50 round trip. But it doesn't matter because it cost me $1,000 to have my car with you, considering all the expenses. Of
course.
A month.
Yeah.
And my Uber bill is never more than like $100 or $200 a month. So it's a massive
way less.
So, but the Ubers and the Lyfts achieve a lot of replace the deficiencies of the public transportation system that maybe in the past we didn't need to have. Although it's still traffic on the road, right? So then you have the scooters, and now you have electric mopeds too that they added. So they
have mopeds now.
They have mopeds now. Well, they took everything out for the time being,
right,
because of COVID. But yeah, they just started with the mopeds too. So you can get electric mopeds. I would scoot, like if there's a showing I have that's like 2-3 blocks away, I'll walk. If I'm in a rush or it's 5 or 6 blocks away or 8 blocks away, I'm scooting.
Yeah.
So
especially
it's perfect.
In July.
Yeah, especially when it's hot. So you just hop on that thing and you just zoom, man.
Yeah,
those things are fun. Those things are super fun.
So, I mean, everything's super close, man. I mean, if
I
I wanted to scoot from my house to like the southern edge of downtown, it would take probably like 5-7 minutes.
Okay.
It's just nothing. Basically, I could be in Brickell in like 7 minutes if I wanted to with a scooter.
Gotcha.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And then they have they've been pushing hard for the rail between downtown and the beach. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And then they have the Tri-Rail East link that they're doing. You know that railroad that goes down it's kind of
that's the Bright
Northeast
Line.
2nd Avenue-ish.
Is it
like the Virgin? This Virgin's.
Is that the Virgin or Bright Line?
The Bright Line. Well,
is it the Bright Line?
What was Bright Line? Virgin bought it, no?
Right. So Bright Line is using that
rail.
But there's also been in the plans. I don't know where it is. I think it's still in the works. That's also going to be used by the Tri-Rail. The Tri-Rail has the West Link that goes north-south. they'll have the East Link, which is going to have more urban stops.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know if because of the Brightline Virgin thing that might have gotten stalled, or maybe they're going to try to take a little bit of that piece of that pie.
Right.
But that's been in the works for a few years. So when they do that, that's going to be really cool too. If they do that, that's going to be really cool too.
I've also noticed that there's buildings out there that don't have parking. Is that
Some
so?
buildings, yeah.
How does it, I mean, they're obviously seeing something that we don't see, right? They come in, and obviously it's an investment in the transportation business, but that, or transportation in general for the downtown area.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they keep up, right?
Yeah, it's hard to live in Miami
Yeah.
without transportation. I'm speaking from a suburban guy, right? So, but I for most people, I mean, no parking. How do you do that?
Well, when I talk to my the prospects that call in, I kind of try to convince them and find a way for them not to have a car, or to have one car instead of two, or whatever. So I just kind of do a quick analysis. I'm like, hey, where are you going to work? Oh, I'm right here in downtown. Okay, where are you going to live? Okay, I want to live in downtown or Edgewater. All right, well, you could scoot to work. You can take an Uber ride to work. It's $5 each way, or $6 each way. That's $12 times 300 times 30 days. Well, not even 30 days, 24 days. That's 300 something bucks.
Yeah.
What kind of car do you like to drive? Like, how much do you love driving? I kind of just throw it at them and let them kind of think about it in a new way, and decide if you really need the car. Usually having a car is kind of something that everyone wants, right? But if you're a couple and you have one person who kind of works close by, and you're not doing like sales where you're driving around all the time, you should be able to be okay with one car.
Nice.
Yeah. And
that makes sense.
And so, but with zero cars, again, there's people who live and work in downtown or in Brickell, and they don't really need a car for their daily life. A huge percentage of people go to work, to the office, they work there, they come home.
Right.
They go to the grocery store, they come home. They go to the movies, they go to a restaurant, they come home. But if you live in an urban area where all of those things are within walking distance, then what's the car for? It's to go to the airport when you travel once a month.
Right.
So you're
Or
not
go
going
visit
to
someone.
want to drive there
And
anyway.
even then, you could Uber, like you said.
You want to take an Uber.
Right.
Or if you want to go visit a friend, I mean, probably your friends from the suburbs are going to want to visit you, not the other way around. And if you want to go visit them, so you pay $25.
True. He's never visited me. I've visited him.
You always go visit him.
Right.
Well, he has a better.
Okay, you got me. But I have kids, right? If it would be different if it was just like couples or
Of
whatever.
course,
You
of
come
course.
down, we go to
Yeah.
a restaurant, whatever.
No,
But yeah, with
that's
kids,
how we've done it.
changes, yeah.
We've done it. We've gone down to we'll
And
hang out down there.
When I lived in
houses
downtown, it
are
was
the
always
winner,
like
man.
that. Also,
Houses are the winner. If you have kids, houses are the winner, man. You get the barbecue, you have the pool.
you get some freedom. You get some freedom, but we also lack certain things like restaurants and nightlife. And
you lived the condo life a little
I
bit.
lived it a little.
I did too. I did early
I
on.
loved
marriage.
it. I mean, I miss Brickell so much. I contemplate my wife sometimes selling our home and going over there and going back there, or renting our home and just renting out there just to be over there and not have the maintenance and have all the restaurants and all my friends that will always call me. I mean, I remember living out there and everybody calls you. Hey, I'm in town. Hey, I'm in your area. Hey, what's to eat here? Hey, I'm done eating. Can I go over?
Yeah.
I'm sure you get that a lot down there.
Yeah, but they always say grass is always greener, right? Of
course.
So it's single family home life is beautiful. Condo life is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a matter of personal preference and needs at the time, right?
Sep, is that why you wore your green pants today?
That's right.
Because the grass is green over there?
Yeah,
There you go. The grass is greener
I'm always
analogy.
greener, man. I'm always greener.
One quick question for you. I mean, we can't talk about condos.
I didn't
downtown.
realize my pants were going to be filmed. Otherwise, I might have thought that.
Oh,
It's all good.
you thought it was a Zoom meeting?
We knew,
I was thinking about coming in my underwear since I thought it was just.
we knew Stephanie.
Glad you did
dressed you. We know Stephanie dressed you. We can't talk about the condo and the Miami market without talking about sea level rise,
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what's up with that? Like, what is it? Are we going to be underwater in 10 years? Or I mean, I know you're not a meteorologist, but what is the real deal? Like,
there's people concerned. I do think that anecdotally there's some people who are making their condo buying decisions based off of elevation. So they might have otherwise maybe bought Miami Beach, but now they're they're okay buying on the mainland because they think or know based on their
For
research
investment purposes.
that their
Yeah.
elevation might be a little higher there, and so they just feel a little bit better.
It would be
You
a
know,
concern for me.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in. We could talk about the different elevations real quick too, but I'm a believer in technology and human ingenuity and resourcefulness, and so I hope and expect that they're going to come up with various solutions that make it really everything mostly or all okay.
I agree.
Just like what happened with COVID here. Oh, the world's going to end. Everyone's going to die. Whatever. And here we are. People are suffering a little bit. Whatever. But we're bouncing back. We're coming
Sure.
together. We're finding
Sure.
solutions, and we're moving forward.
We always do.
So I think it's similar in that way. I think that if it's really of concern for someone, then they can look into the different elevations and make their decisions. Obviously, newer buildings are typically going to be built on higher ground, I'm assuming,
Right.
Because of the knowledge. So you can focus a little bit more on newer buildings potentially. There's certain neighborhoods that have higher elevations than others. Like downtown Miami is actually, I think, a little bit higher elevation, unlike Brickell. And then I think Edgewater is second. So it's like downtown is the highest, then Edgewater, then Brickell.
Gotcha.
People can make decisions that way too.
Do you get a lot of it?
It's just one factor, I think, in many
In
factors.
the many factors. Yeah.
Is that a common question?
Not common.
Not really.
But it's come up more over the past year or so than before.
I think some media grabs it a
Past
little
couple
bit.
of years,
Yeah.
It's been I think last year it became like a big media topic, so it
Yeah.
brought up a bunch, and it still comes up. And I mean, look, it's important for everyone to weigh all the details of what's important to them and what their concerns are, and make their decision based on that. For sure.
Sure.
There's some people who are like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy waterfront. I'm going to buy off the water because of what that I don't really understand. It's a minor difference maybe in hurricanes because the ones on the water kind of get a little bit stronger winds, but I mean, we're talking a couple mile per hour.
Right. It's kind of the same thing.
Kind of go through it.
Yeah, it's
But I agree with you. I
things.
think it's only a matter of time before the cities just get together and just create, or they find a resolution and invest into it. I'm sure there is a resolution, right? It's all about funding, right? Which, like anything else in politics. And
Miami Beach is doing it. Miami
Yeah.
Beach is putting in
Oh, big time.
seawalls,
Big time.
pumps, and Holland did it.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
sure.
So good
right.
stuff. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the condo market? Things that we should know.
I mean, I think that just to get just a couple of quick stats, I think that will give people a perspective, and probably should have talked about it at the beginning. But one of the things is, like, for example, my site is strictly condos, right? And we probably went down about 30% ish in terms of our traffic
Okay.
when COVID hit. And last month was our biggest month of all time.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Holy
so
cow.
by just a couple percent, but it's still the biggest month of all time. And we're growing, so it's part of it, but it doesn't matter. No matter how much you're growing, if the market is not interested, if
Sure.
there's no demand, they won't show up. So
Right.
it gives you an idea of how back to normal we really are in terms of the interest and the demand that's out there.
Got it.
Also, the showings. So there's a company called Showing Time, which you guys know.
Yeah.
But for you out there, there's a company called Showing Time, and they work with a lot of MLSs to do showing request activity. People use the system to request showings and track showings and confirm showings and so on. And so they have really great stats that help you understand what's going on. And just as of last week, we're slightly above the same level of activity last year.
Holy cow.
So basically, let's call it even, right?
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
even with last year's activity after it dropped probably, I think it was in Florida. This is Florida, by the way.
Okay.
They don't have, I didn't find Miami stats. They were down, I think, 60% at the worst part of COVID in terms of showing request activity.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea, it went down 60%, and we went way back up to where we're even Steven with
Holy
last
cow.
year.
And that's even after COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're
but
not even
does that
fully-
account? Does that account for the agents that request 17 showings for the same property for the same time, right back to back? Ding, 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 ding. Just click it 19 times.
Well, the smartest thing to do is just text the heck out of you instead of just use a showing time.
What I like is the ones that send a showing request, leave a voicemail, send you a text, and send you an email, just to make sure all bases are covered.
And that's not bad.
Oh, you're talking about me? Hey, listen, if you don't answer, you better get ready for some.
Yeah,
some,
you're
No, it's
we're gonna look.
it's
We're gonna
all at
find
the same
you.
time. This is not a sequential order of events. This is like seconds apart from each other.
yeah.
It's a barrage.
Well, not
Let's
all
cover all
agents are as
bases.
great as us, right? Or as great as all of us here. So that is,
Yeah.
Some are better.
Yeah.
Just some other quick numbers in
Sure.
case someone's a numbers person. This past week, the week ending June 8th, there was 295 new condo listings in those neighborhoods, whereas I think that the lowest week was 130 something like that. So like
Inventory's
massive
coming back.
increase of people who are finally like, okay, the dust has settled,
Let's
the
put
world hasn't ended. People are still buying. They're buying at the prices that I'm willing to sell at, and they're putting them on the market again.
got it.
So I think a lot of that's happening.
That's good.
And we haven't seen a massive percentage of price decreases, anything completely out of the ordinary. Maybe a little bit more than usual, but not completely out of the ordinary. And then in terms of closed sales, closings ticked up this past week, and it was sort of a trend like this, and then now we're right here.
Yeah.
And I can pretty much guarantee that that's going to continue to uptick because we're having a lot of buyer activity, people putting offers, reasonable offers, sellers being reasonable, compromising, but not giving the places away.
Of course.
And deals are being made. And frankly, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting it to turn this fast.
I mean,
There's a lot of pent up
I
demand.
don't think any of us were. I when it first hit, I was like, this might be, something concerning,
Yeah.
especially early on, right? But it's very comforting to see that the market's kind of, stabilized pretty quickly back, and stock market's raging.
Roaring.
It doesn't.
It's
some of it's
insane.
kind of weird. Doesn't
Yeah,
make any
yeah. It kind of gives you like no like real gauge, right?
Right.
Compared to like, where you would think, okay, right, based on this, right, we're gonna make this assumption, and this is typically true. Now it's like you don't even know what. Like
Where we're
it's
going.
kind of like the market just keeps going, right? Yeah, unemployment's high, right? So it's like how, right?
Yeah.
The transfer of wealth, I guess, is
transfer of
really
wealth.
shifting.
Yeah, and I thought about, okay, why is it that there's so much demand now, right? And it goes back to pretty much a summary of everything we talked about. Interest rates are super duper low. People who were afraid of change before, or like not sort of easy to pull the trigger, are like, screw it, life is short. They pull the trigger, they make the moves. People realize once people realize their work situation is different, like they work from home, that means they might need a bigger place. That means they might not be geographically, restricted. So they can move from New York to Miami, or from the suburbs to downtown, or from the downtown to the suburbs, or whatever. It may not make a difference.
And I would add to that inventory. Inventory is low. So as long as inventory is low, people feel, that, and pricing is stable.
And interest rates being so low as well.
Interest rates are low, and
People are just
inventory's low, so
trying to
it's
take advantage before this market does or does crash, right? What comes up must come down.
well, eventually, who
supposedly.
knows?
And then the stock market, is sort of, it's an emotional thing that people have with the stock market too. If the stock market's up, they feel rich, right? It's the wealth effect.
True.
And when the stock market's down, they get scared, or they feel not so rich. And so the stock market hit 10,000. The Nasdaq hit 10,000 yesterday.
Ouch.
I didn't look at the numbers, but I think that might be a
Record. It should be a
for
record.
at least for the year, or right around what the high was for the year, something like that.
I think it peaked out in February, a little over 10,000.
Yeah, so I mean, if I have money sitting around with my investments and they're doing okay, life seems pretty normal to me.
True.
Right.
And I still have my job. My business suffered for a couple months, or but I'm back. I have my job again, or I have my business is back up and running again. I mean, everyone's just like, hey,
Confidence is in the market again.
I was on a webinar, and what they were talking about is what we're finding out is a lot of these jobs that were lost were not necessarily primary earners in the family and lower income earners. And so not necessarily people who were in the home ownership space anyway.
Got it.
I believe that.
They saw that the trend was probably more in the rental space, although I know rental spaces, people were paying their rent.
For the most part.
For the most part, 92%, pay rates, which is pretty hard to understand how that's even there. So, but, like I said, I think that's something to consider as well. I mean, but who knows? And we don't know what and also there's a lot of federal stimulus money. That's a huge part of this whole thing, right?
It is.
There's a lot of money getting poured, injected
confidence
into the economy.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of people stability and confidence to move forward. So we're seeing it. To everybody I talk to, either has received, either is in line to get some money or has received some money, and is planning on using that money to stabilize their business or grow their business. So see how that goes.
Sep, I want to thank you again for coming on here, and if there's anything else you want to share, give us again that plug again for the website and where they can find you.
Oh, thank you. Condoblackbook.com.
Okay. And that has all your information in there?
There's all information there. You can go to the blog if you want to read up on what's going on in the market and everything. And
you're extremely knowledgeable, and we thank you for coming on here. And anybody looking for a condo, come on, man. Sep's your guy.
Yeah, and
right?
actually,
Edgewater.
I meant to talk about this when we first started.
Yeah.
Man, I'm honored to be in the presence of the REO Kings. If you guys want, if you don't know what REO is, it's bank-owned properties, and these guys have been the kings of REO and are still the kings of REO years after REO kind of was not the in thing to do. So if you want distressed properties, especially bank-owned, these guys are the guys. Like, if I want one, I call these guys.
Oh, we thank you for that. Definitely. It's an unvalued business, really.
Investment game.
Yeah, investment game. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys and all the support that you guys give us. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and drop a comment below if you want Sep to cover anything. He's going to be chiming in there for any questions, any condo questions you guys have. If you're thinking about moving into Miami and want to look for an amazing condo, Sep's your guy, man. Definitely. Don't forget to hit us up and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and again, don't forget to subscribe. Right?
Do it.
Yes. Do it. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Till next time.